Welcome everyone. My name is Amanda Ellis and today is the 11th of April 2019 and we're going to be looking at Prince again. So I did my first channeling with Prince, I don't know, a week or so ago. Thank you very much for all the lovely comments and emails that came in on the back of that. And this is a continuation of that video, so I won't go back over old ground in terms of what we did in that first video. It's quite interesting because I had various papers with questions that had come in from some of you and areas that I wanted to ask him about, and I kid you not, it's just gone missing. I have searched high and low in this office and I knew that the questions were here yesterday and they've disappeared. And I just know that he's done that because one of the things that I feel very strongly with his energy is that he has his, when I say he has his own agenda, I don't mean that in a bad way. I think it's actually one of the things that he's trying to teach us, which is don't always just play by society's rules. Don't just answer what other people ask you about. Create your own narrative, basically. And it's as though he wishes to turn up and talk about the subjects that he wants to talk about, with no disrespect to any fans out there who maybe want to hear other things. But I just think it's the way he is. It's very much sort of, this is what I want to talk about. So I have got a few things that I've just jotted down, having lost the notes, and we'll see how far we go with it all. I would like to ask him a little bit about his transition to spirit. He died in an elevator, and I talked about that last time in terms of the symbolism of the elevator, but we didn't then take it the next stage and talk about the transition and how he experienced it when he arrived the other side of the veil. We may also touch on the Jehovah Witness energy, which he obviously did have as he transitioned. He was a devout Jehovah's Witness. So I'm just writing these things down for myself just as much as you. We want to talk about, or he wants to talk about, creativity. That's a big thing for him. And I also wanted to touch on the number 9. He numerologically comes out as a number 9. And I just thought it's quite interesting that obviously one of his most famous hits was 1999. So we might ask him about the number 9 energy if we have time. There's also the thing about epilepsy. He was an epileptic as a child, so may ask about that. But I think we'll just see whatever's going to come through. Before I bring him through consciously, he's already very much here and been around me for 2 days actually. It was quite interesting yesterday because I sat down in this office and I was wanting to do it yesterday, but I'd been out the night before with my family and had had some wine and maybe a little bit too much wine. I wasn't hungover by any stretch of the imagination, but I'd had some wine the night before, and he was very much sort of like, you know, no. you can only do me when you haven't drunk the night before. And of course he was teetotal, wasn't he, towards the latter part of his life anyway. And it interests me actually because what we need to understand is that when people pass to spirit, it's not as though in heaven, or whatever you want to call it, whatever the realm is that you want to call it, where they go, as though they're all, you know, necessarily drinking wine or beer or anything like that. But what happens is that when somebody passes over, if they've got a very strong imprint of something that meant something to them, be it a belief, a behaviour, a personality trait, then they can often still show you that when they communicate with you. And he's still very much got that quite devout energy in terms of the body as a temple, you know. So he's not judgmental with it at all, but it was just sort of like a, you know, do better. So anyway, last night I didn't have anything to drink, so he's fine now. It's like, yes, you can talk. We can do our work now. So yeah, I respect that about him enormously. I want to just read you one of the many emails that came in. Now, I haven't actually asked the lady if it's okay to read this out, but there's nothing in it that's at all personal, I don't think. So I hope she's okay with it. I'm not going to name her anyway. But it picks up on some of the things we were talking about in the last video, just very succinctly. So she says, I didn't really know much about Prince. And yet I do feel that he has been very sweetly walking by my side for the last year or so, and I have no idea why. I am not a musician. Just got to write something down about that. I've just remembered he was talking to me about something earlier. I'm not a musician, and yet I have a number who are that hang out on the spirit side. Following your channeling, it is now very clear why he is here. She talks about the fact that she tends to leap around from one idea to the next, which was something that came through in the last video. She describes her brain as being quite elastic in that way. She also mentions that she is dyslexic, and that I think is really important, because I'm just going to read the next bit out. I'm also completely aligned with his assessment of language, linear and not really fit for purpose. In fact, describing it as being based upon a system devised by the Phoenicians to enable merchants to write cargo listings, which probably explains why it is so linear. An ancient version of our phone text speak. In my opinion, people with dyslexia will fare much better in a world where we communicate using telepathy. In fact, I go one further and describe that we will be using 360-degree senses, where all the senses are used in a joined up way to convey unequivocal meaning. We will no longer describe synesthesia as a disorder, but see it as part of our human evolution. I love that. So she makes such a valid point there about dyslexia. I've also had emails in about autism. Again, people that struggle to communicate in a way that society expects them to, but yet at another level are communicating in a very different way. So he may well have something to say on that as well, autism and dyslexia. But I can't make this video too long, so let's just see. Let's bring him in then. Let me close my laptop down. I don't want to be looking at that. And this is gonna make you laugh. I'm gonna ring my bell. Look at the colour of it. I didn't buy that specially for purpose. I've got them in my house. So the purple bell. Let's bring Prince in. Let's just show his photograph again. This is the one that we're connecting with. Okay. He's just saying, could you please light the incense again? Okay. He's very meticulous. You know, everything just has to be just so. And I understand that because I'm a bit like that as well. So it's like the incense has to be lit. I have to do things in order. Okay. So I'm going to spray the rainbow bridge spray, which I've done in all my videos where I'm channeling people. This just helps us to connect to them. Just take a nice deep breath in. Let's create our sacred space. Calling in Archangel Metatron, who oversees all of the work we do, and who is both sides of the veil, both here on earth and in heaven. All of the realms, omnipresent, is with Prince and is with us. And the bridge is built, stretching from earth to the other realms. And I'm hearing the words to Prince, you are cordially invited. I think that's a nod to his song, Let's Go Crazy. There's an invitation, isn't there, in the beginning of that song? So you are cordially invited, Prince. And we just wait for him on the brow of the bridge. And I say we, that means myself, you, and Metatron. And what's so interesting to me is that as we wait for him to come, rather than seeing him visually, he will appear visually in a moment, but I'm feeling his arrival in my ear chakras. And my ears are, trying to describe it to you, they're not ringing, they're not buzzing. It's like a pressure in my lower ear here, going down here. I don't know what part of the body that is, and I've not felt that before. And it rings in with his energy. It's like he stimulates different parts of the chakras in the head linked to sound and vision. So it's like his sound is the first thing that I am sensing. And actually what's coming across the bridge before his physical form is his sign. We talked about that last time, his symbol. And his symbol comes before him. And on the bench where we wait for those that we're going to be talking to in this series of videos, which I'm calling Heart Squad, what's really interesting is that the symbol, Prince's symbol, is there on the bench. I'm seeing the symbol rather than himself. And the symbol is in gold and purple. And it looks as we know it looks. The symbol is now shattering, dissolving, changing, transforming, metamorphosing into something else. And it looks a bit like those of people that used to watch Star Trek. When the person was beamed onto the ship, there was this light formation before their physical body. You saw it? And that's what's happening here. I'm seeing the fizzing light. So the symbol is transforming, and it's like then he's sitting there. And it's like how we got from one side of the bridge to the bench with us, I have no idea, because he hasn't walked it. It's come in via another medium. So he's sitting there and he's smiling at me and us, and he's saying, "Did you like that entrance?" We did, thank you. It's just brought this big grin onto my face, just made me smile. It's like I'm full of surprises. He likes to surprise people. So, okay, let's just settle then, Prince. Let's just see what you do physically look like today. He's showing himself in a different form to me than the first video. His hair is longer and more curled. A bit more bouffant. He probably doesn't like that word. It's not afro, it's more, well, it is afro, but it's sort of a slightly sleeker afro, if that makes sense. It's curled, it's styled in a certain way. I think it's styled in the way of Let's Go Crazy. That's the era that I'm seeing him. That's how he's showing himself to us today. And he's dressed in white. He's got that little white jacket on, pale trousers. I think he's all in white actually. He's all in white, but he's got these sort of cowboy boots on his feet, with a slight heel, and he's got some jewelry around his neck. And he's got a pearl brooch. There's a brooch here, a pearl brooch. And there's a pocket here with a little handkerchief. He's very dapper. It's like he's dressed up for us. He's dressed up for the part. So there he is. So thank you. Namaste. So let's just see what we're going to do. And I think more than anything, I'm going to just pass it back to him. What would he like to talk about today? Okay, so he's saying that he knows that there are a number of questions that we want answered, but he really feels that the way that the world is at the moment, the state of consciousness, the way it is at the moment, creativity is something that's really important to be talked about and brought up for exposure, because the issues in our own lives and the issues in the collective are not going to be able to be solved by a very linear, rational answer. It's going to have to come from a different source, and that source is going to come from within us, but it's going to come from within the divine spark that is within us. He's saying that we are all given God-given skills, talents and gifts, and that most of the time these skills, talents and gifts lie unopened within ourselves, as though we are waiting for permission to open the boxes. He's showing me our gifts and our talents and our skills as beautiful wrapped presents with bows on, and it's as though he's saying it's almost like, as human beings, we wait until Christmas, we wait until the moment that we're told it is the day that we can open them. And then you open the box and you look for the instructions in terms of, what am I supposed to do with this gift of communication, or this gift of sport, or this gift of dance, or this gift of sensitivity, or this gift of intuition, or this gift of music. What do I do with it? Where do I go? Who do I ask how to do this? And he's saying you don't need to go outside of yourself. God doesn't give you a gift that is unusable. God doesn't give you a gift without batteries, he's saying, and he's smiling. And he's alluding to the fact that on Christmas Day, as a child, you get given these gifts and these toys, and they always require batteries. And then you've got the toy, but you haven't got the batteries. So it's like, you know, what do I do? He's saying you don't need batteries. He's saying you are the battery. He's saying the battery also is God's light, which is within you. And it's within every single one of us. And it's a case of just unwrapping the box, not waiting for permission, not waiting to be shown how to do it. He's saying you know how to do it. And the Let's Go Crazy song, he's very linked into that energy today. I actually feel like maybe I ought to play a little bit of it. So I'm just going to get it up online whilst he's talking to me, because I know that what he wants to talk about with regard to that particular song is about living outside of the box. Let me just bring it up online. I was actually listening to it earlier. Okay, so we know the song. The lyrics you can look up yourself, but he's saying I need to read the first couple of verses. Dearly beloved, we have gathered here today to get through this thing called life. Electric word life, it means forever, and that's a mighty long time, but I'm here to tell you that there's something else. If you don't like the world you're living in, take a look around you. At least you've got your friends. Come on, lady, for a friendly word. She picked up the phone, dropped it on the floor. Is all I heard. Are we going to let the elevator bring us down? Oh no, let's go crazy. Of course he died in the elevator, so slightly prophetic there, I think, but that whole thing about breaking out of the box. So what I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting us just to do a small little visualization, healing, linking into unleashing that creativity that is within ourselves. We're going to link into our sacral chakra. The sacral chakra is located above the base chakra. It's just below the, it's below the belly button, basically. It's linked into the reproductive area of the body. And I want you just to focus on that particular area of your body, your sacral chakra, okay? We're going to be using this purple, it's good that it is purple. This is the sacral chakra from Archangel Metatron. And I, years ago, was told that it needed to be purple, not orange, it needed to be purple. So it sort of starts to make a little bit of sense now why that may be so. So let's bring in the Purple King, which is what I feel I want to call him, to help activate our own sacral chakras and bring out not just that creative flow, but also the sexual, fertile energy as well. So, but it's creativity I'm particularly going to be focusing in on with Prince. So, under his guidance, let's just see what comes through. So I'm going to spray this purple ray of light. We have Prince here. I just want you to tune into that part of your body, your sacral chakra. Get a sense of how it feels. Try and turn off your rational mind. Just allow yourself to tune into your own body that you have been living in for however many years you've been on this planet. You're the person that knows your body better than anybody else. Linking into the sacral chakra, linking into that part of the body, just getting a feeling for how it feels today. Does it feel tight? Does it feel closed? Does it feel soft? Just allow yourself to tune into that part of the body. And there we have a really important chakra, and we are just going to allow it to open more than it already is. So it doesn't matter from what starting point you are working from. We are just with the energy of Metatron and with Prince, just inviting the sacral chakra to open. And what I'm being shown is that it's opening obviously on both sides, but I'm very much drawn to the fact that the right and the left side of the sacral chakra link into the masculine and the feminine energy within ourselves. And what Prince is saying is that for so many years, because obviously where the sacral chakra is where our reproductive organs are, which are the most identifiable part of who we are. It tends to just be resonating with, if you're female, you're female, if you're male, you're male. But of course the sacral chakra is made up of both the masculine and the feminine energies, irrelevant to whether you are male or female in physical form. And so we're allowing the masculine and the feminine energies within the sacral chakra to open and to flower. And you may feel a pulling or an expansion on one side more than the other. And then if this is the case, it's showing you where one has been more starved of energy. So the right hand side of the body, the masculine energy, the left hand side of the body, the feminine energy. Just allowing that sacral chakra to open up with beautiful purple light. And as it opens, and as we see this opening and this portal within the body, you are shown a gift. It literally is, it's a gift that's been placed there by the divine. Symbolically, just for us to understand, it's being shown as a boxed present with a ribbon. You may actually see the colour of the ribbon. You will also see a tag on top of the gift, which has got your name on it, and the tag is from God, it's from the divine, it's from source. You're asked to unwrap the ribbon, let it fall away. It dissolves into light. This is a light, energetic object that we're looking at. It's not physical, it's not hard. It's an energetic, light gift. We unwrap it, we open the box falls away, and there is something there that is revealed. Either pure energy that you don't have to understand even what it is. It may be a colour, it may be a symbol, it may be an image of something. And being shown for some men, it's linked into literally like a sports ball, like a football or a baseball. Something that you may be good at, that you maybe haven't done for years. Maybe as a young boy you used to kick a ball around or do baseball or something like that, and then for, in your 50s or 40s or 60s, whatever age you are now, it's like you've not done that for years, and it's like you're still good at it. Go out and do it. For other people, I'm being shown, it's going to be different for all of you, but I'm being shown an artist's easel, like an old-fashioned wooden easel with the paint on and a paintbrush, and it's like being gifted to you. For other people, I'm being shown literally a musical instrument. I'm also being shown written language. I'm being shown mathematical formulas, people that are very gifted in terms of their intellect. I'm being shown scientific formulas that I don't particularly understand, which are for some other people. What other gifts are there being given here? It's rather beautiful. I'm being given the gift of a baby for some people. I'm literally being shown a baby, the conception of a new soul. I'm being shown symbols of softness and comfort and love and support, such as a beautiful pink blanket to wrap around yourself, to nurture yourself, the gift of knowing how to nurture yourself, how to love yourself. It's going to be different for all of you. Just tune into what you're being shown. And then what you're being asked to do is to take that, own it, and integrate it. Okay. Remember too also that your sacral chakra is both in front of you and behind you. The back, the chakra at the back is also being activated and stimulated. But in addition to any gift that you've been shown or you've been given, we now just feel this beautiful flowing, creative, fertile energy flowing out from the sacral chakra and finding its natural way around your body. Metatron here just clearing any pathway, any block that is preventing it from going where it needs to go. So for some people, the energy that is being released in the sacral chakra is working its way up to your throat in terms of being able to sing or communicate in a new way. For other people, it's going into your heart. It's reminding you what you really love, what you're good at, what you can do. It's bringing back your dreams and your hopes and your aspirations. For other people, the energy from the sacral is traveling up to the head with new ideas and inspirations. For other people, it's traveling down to your feet. It's actually something you've physically got to go and do. Maybe a place that you've got to go to, a country you need to explore, a person you need to reach out to. For other people, that creative energy is flowing into their hands. And I'm seeing activation of healing energy coming through people's hands. It's different for every single person. Knowing that this is activated and done, we seal in that healing work with gold, purple and gold. Take a nice deep breath in and out. Put your feet down on the earth, connect into Mother Nature, and just take a couple of moments just to come back to self. And before we move on, I'm just going to strike a couple of tuning forks at this point. Okay, that was strange. I don't know how much you just heard of what I just said. I was just saying that he was found dead in the elevator of an accidental overdose, and my camera just totally blacked out. My camera just totally blacked out, which it never normally does. When the battery's dying, it doesn't do it like that. It gives me warning gives me warning signals. I can't speak. That didn't happen. It just went black. The screen went black. So I'm feeling that he's trying to tell us something by that happening. It's as though everything just blacked out. I feel as though it's like 1 minute he was here and the next minute he was gone. It was really, really instant. It was really quick. It was really quick. The fact that I'm feeling that he blacked out, it was just making me question, because I know he had epilepsy as a child, but I don't believe he had it as an adult. So Prince, can you just tell me a little bit more then? I was just a bit, why that screen blacked out like that? So you blacked out, it was quick. What else can you tell us? I'm just feeling as though that there's actually very little to say here in terms of the moment preceding it and the moment it happened, because it literally is just, it's like black and white. It doesn't feel as though there was any struggle. It doesn't feel that there was any awareness within him at that moment. He may very well have been aware years before or months before that something may happen to him. But in terms of the actual moment when it did, and it's literally like one moment alive, the next moment dead, I feel as though there was very little warning. I don't feel he had any warning that it was physically about to happen right at that moment. So it literally is just a case of walking into the escalator and like blacking out. That's all I'm getting here. Were you aware that you had died? I'm feeling almost like a curiosity energy around it. It's as though he was bemused, he was curious, you know, it's like looking at himself from above when he left his body in terms of why am I lying like that there? What am I doing? But I feel as though quite quickly he cottoned on to the fact that he had gone. I'm just struck, and it's very different from other people I've tuned into before, how quick it was, how black and white it was. But yet he said, he's saying, but yet how ironic, because in many ways I knew it was coming at some point. I knew it was coming at some point, but I hadn't realised the point was then. That's what he means, okay? He's not wanting to say too much more about the circumstances around it. What about the drugs? He was taking something for pain relief. He certainly didn't intend to kill himself. There was no intention on his part that he was trying to do that. There was no awareness that either that he had made a mistake with his medication. That's why I'm just feeling this sense of like, what am I doing down there? What's happened? It's that sort of energy. What's happened? But almost, I also want to say, but what a relief as well. I'm feeling what a relief at soul level with him. Because he was so highly tuned to God, to source light. He enjoyed his time here on earth, but equally it wasn't straightforward. There were moments where he always felt he was slightly playing a different song to everybody else, putting it in musical terms. Didn't really fit in. So the relief was more, oh, okay, that's over. But it certainly wasn't premeditated, and it wasn't something that he intended to happen. So tell me what happened then. So after the moment you're looking down and it's like slight bemusement, what happens then? He's giving me the Star Trek analogy again. I hope you understand what the Star Trek analogy is. If not, you're going to have to watch the films, because it's literally like I'm just seeing, what did they call it in Star Trek? I mean, it's like Beam Me Up Scotty type stuff, you know? It literally is. It's like one moment you're on Star Trek, 1 minute they're on one planet, and then they sort of dissolve into light, and then they're just somewhere else. And how they got from one place to the other, you never know. You're not meant to know. It's a process of alchemy. It's a process of, alchemy is not the right word he's saying. It's it's dimensional time travel. So he just, what's interesting about it is I'm not feeling there's an awful lot of emotion here from him at all. It's very, he's viewing it as he's looking back analytically. It's almost like an analytical response to his death. And he obviously was a very emotional man, but I'm not feeling the emotion coming from him here in terms of what he's describing. So then where were you beamed up then? Where did you end up? From the elevator, where did you end up? Who were you with? He's showing me a huge fountain. A huge fountain. It's really beautiful. I wanted to say it's the fountain of youth, but it's the fountain of life, he's saying. It's God, but God expressed in water. I'm not seeing like God in terms of some figure with a white beard on a cloud. He's showing me this fountain, and it's shaped in a very, I don't know, it looks a bit like the fleur-de-lis. It's that sort of energy. It's very sort of flowing, and it's huge. It's absolutely huge. This beautiful stone. It feels stone, but it's not stone as we know it. It's a fountain. It's got water just everywhere. And he said, I went to the fountain and I bathed in the water. Not in terms of physically getting into the water, but he's sort of like, he splashed the water on his face to revive himself. So it's as though wherever he was, there was this beautiful fountain. He went straight there. He was like, I'm seeing he's putting the water onto his face like that. There were other beings there that almost like handed him a towel or something. And he's like, he patted his face, and it's like, am I all intact? I'm feeling as though I'm doing this. Am I all intact? Because it was all so sudden. It's like, am I all here? And they're reassuring him, yes, he transitioned completely and fully. He still has the imprint of his body, because obviously the physical body is gone, but it's like a divine blueprint that still looks like him. So it's like, am I all here? Yes, you're all there. And then he was, I don't know who these beings are around him. I'm not recognizing them. They feel as though they are, I'm hearing they are servants of God. They don't feel so angelic. I mean, they probably are, but it's not a frequency that I'm really understanding very well. They're more just servants of God, and they are then directing him to almost like this stone bench, which he sits on. His guitar has also transitioned with him, which again I know makes no sense because I'm sure his guitar is still here on earth, but actually the blueprint, the divine blueprint of the guitar is on the bench with him. It's an electric guitar. I know nothing about guitars. I can't describe it very well to you. It's purple, but it's got, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. It's just an electric guitar. He's saying it's not just an electric guitar, Amanda. Okay, it's not just an electric guitar. It's his guitar. He's saying, I brought the blueprint of that with me. Of course I brought that with me. He's saying somebody had to go back and get that for him because it wasn't in the elevator with him when he died. Then what happened? It's interesting because I'm not seeing lots of other people around him. Certainly not, there aren't other people around him in terms of people that we would resonate with. Not initially anyway. He's actually almost left quite to his own devices. He's very at peace. It's like he's being given, oh, it's a garden where you just settle. I'm being told it's a garden where you just settle and you adjust. And these servants of God that I'm seeing are on hand to make sure that anything that the person needs in the garden of settlement is brought to them. So it's almost as though those servants of God, is what I want to call them, they were the ones that reached down and got his guitar for him, which is there. He's not doing anything with it. It's more just the fact it's lying there by his side. Okay, he might not like this phrase, but I'm feeling it's like a comfort blanket, is what I want to say. It's like a comfort blanket. His feet are being bathed. His feet are being washed. Something about his feet are being washed. it's like they're attending to him. One of them's now brushing his hair. It's all very loving. It's very nurturing. But it's like he's waiting. He's just pausing. He is in the light, but for some reason he's being kept away from others at this time. It seems to be linked into purification in some way. It's like but I feel as though it's something that he expected to happen when he passed over. So it's not that everybody goes through this process, he's saying. It's the fact that for him to get to the ultimate gate of God, you have to go in as pure as possible. And so therefore I created for myself, my higher self, my soul, needed this period of purification and adjustment before I ultimately went to the Godhead. He's saying this is also linked to what he had ingested in terms of the drugs, okay? So he said I wasn't going to go before the holy divine impure. Okay, there's this thing about purity with him. So seeing that, how long did he stay there for? It's very sort of Christ energy. It's like 40 days and 40 nights type energy. That's what I'm hearing. But no torment, just peace, just beauty, just rest, just integration. Is the music? Yes, there's music, but it's not music that we would understand here on this earth. It's tones. He's saying it's tones. It's tones rather than music. The tones that he heard were tones that were particularly created for him, but they would be created for anybody that was in this particular space. And the tones helped him to purify and heal just as much as the water that revived him and cleansed his feet. There's something about hair that I don't quite understand. I don't know why they're fussing about with his hair. Maybe he just had a thing about his hair. I don't know. I don't know quite why that is, why that's being shown to me. Let's just see what else we can get. So after this period, basically, where he was there for a period of time adjusting, I'm also hearing atoning, you know, but again, he's wanting me to stress now that this is the process he went through because it's what he expected. So maybe this is linked into the Jehovah's Witness type energy. There was a feeling that he had to atone for things that he'd done in his earthly life before he could go beyond up to the Godhead. He's saying, please understand that this was because that was what I brought with me into the kingdom, into the next realm. It doesn't mean that everybody has to go through that process, but it's what I needed to do to transition from earthbound energy to where I was ultimately going and where I am now. It's what my soul needed to adjust. And so there's like some sort of period of atonement. I actually feel as though at that time there was another angel there with him. Just wondering whether it was Metatron, actually. It feels as though it could have been Metatron. Was it Metatron? Yeah, it was Metatron was there, because Metatron is God's scribe as well. So it's almost as though there was this review of the Akashic records, looking back at what he did, Metatron being the bridge between him and God, assuring him that he did well, that his mission was perfectly accomplished, that he did much good upon the earth, that he was very loved, that not to worry about some of these concerns he had about, but I did this or I did that. I'm being shown the Akashic records, and it's almost like it's being marked like a grade book. And it's like it's just tick, 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 tick. You know, it's like gold star. And then on the other side of the page was where Prince was worried about other things that he may have done in life. And he was like, he thought there was going to be a whole row of crosses on the other side of the page, you know, like, you know, should have tried harder or shouldn't have done that. There was nothing like that. There was no judgment. There was no judgment in that garden. All that was focused on was all the things that he had done well. And it's as though his soul needed to hear that. His soul needed to realise the impact that he had. and then he was ready. And then it's Metatron now. Metatron was saying, and then I gave him a bit of a shove forward, because it's like he couldn't hang around the garden for any longer. He needed to then go ultimately to the light, which he did. And I'm just wondering whether we can even see that, because it feels quite sacred and private. I'm just being shown this beautiful big gate at the end of the garden, which is like bigger than I've ever seen before in my life. It's pure white light. It's got a golden arch at I can only see the top of the arch. It's not pillars. It's not a solid structure. It's just literally a gateway of light. And he goes through it. And I'm feeling warmth. I'm feeling heat. I'm feeling just everything dissolves into light and love. And it's rebirth. It's like a rebirth energy. Wow, it's like he's there with God, and then he comes back out of the garden, because I don't think you're meant to be right beside God the whole time, but it's just having been in that presence of God, which is just so extraordinarily powerful and beautiful and beyond words. It's just beyond words, and just feeling the energy, it's beyond words. He then comes back out, but he's not back in the same garden. He's then back, he's hanging out with other people. It's the only way I can put it. There are other people there. He's in a bigger space. What is this space? I don't know what this space is. It's the afterlife, he's saying. It's the afterlife, Amanda. It's the afterlife. He said, we'd like to show you around. Yeah, please show us around. And it's just the expansiveness of this place is just beyond our imagination. It goes on for miles upon miles upon miles, thousands of miles in every direction. There is just this feeling of space, of freedom. And it's like within all this space and all this freedom, there are some groups of people, different types of people that I can see. It's almost like people that for whatever reason want to congregate together. But if you want your own space, you can have your own space. It's as though it's whatever you want it to be, is what he's saying. It's whatever you want it to be. There is no one definition of the afterlife. It is whatever you want it to be, because you are God and you create it. You create what you need, and he says it can change in any one moment. He says it isn't concrete like Earth. It's not like going to London or Paris or New York and you know what that place looks like and you know where to hang out and you know what is there. He says it's not like that here. He's saying everything is, anything can be manifested in any one moment, and it can change or it can be permanent based on whatever you want and whoever you want there. So can you just show us what your little bit of it looks like then? What were you doing before you came to talk to us today? What was I doing? He's saying, okay, what was I doing? Let me just see what he's doing. Water seems really important to him, because now he's showing me like, he's showing me the view that he has from his little bit where he is, and it's looking out to what we would call sea, but it's not sea like we know it. But it's water, it's ocean. He's saying, yes, there are oceans here. Yes, there are elements here. He's saying it's not just the elements of fire, earth, water, air. He said there are other elements as well. I'm not quite sure what he means by that, but he's saying for some reason he still finds water very soothing, or he does now anyway. I'm seeing an outlook of water. He's saying, I would do things that would really surprise you, that you would never think that I would ever do on Earth. And this is going to sound crazy. He showed me a surfboard. He showed me a surfboard. And he's like, he's going surfing. And he's saying, that surprised you, didn't it? Yeah. He's saying that's the joy of it. He's saying you realise that you've got every single gift. You're not defined by any one thing. You're not just defined by your music or your art. You can be an amazing surfer. You can be an amazing writer. You can be anything you want to be here. He's saying this is the ultimate source of creativity. He's saying what you experience as creativity on earth is just a fraction of what is here. It is a creative afterlife. It isn't static. We're not all asleep. When you say rest in peace, he's saying that is very nice to hear, but actually we are also very alive, but in a different way. Are there any other people around him? The only one that I'm getting a sense of, is Jimi Hendrix. That's what it feels like. I don't know anything about Jimi Hendrix. Apologies to people who do. Was Jimi Hendrix into guitars? Was he a guitarist? I don't know. Jimi Hendrix. And now I'm wanting to say Bob Marley. And I'll tell you why I want to say Bob Marley as well, because they're all very laid back. They're all just like very laid back. He's saying it's a chilled out zone that we're in. But he's saying, but anybody's welcome. But he's saying we're not always together the whole time. We just it's like almost like hang out together from time to time. The music brings us together. Okay. I'm not sure I can get much more today from that, so I'm just going to come back a little bit. It's quite heady. Ooh, okay. Whew. Okay, hold on a minute. I just need a moment to come back. Okay, where to next then? Let me just grab Metatron, hold on. Let me just bring Metatron back. Well, he's here, but I just need him to get me back into so I can talk again. Okay, Metatron, let's just see what else we're meant to do here with Prince. Okay, so he's still sitting on the bench. He's still there. He's saying, I always like to take people on rides with my music. He's saying, that's what I've just done with you. I've just taken you on a bit of a ride. He's saying, I hope you enjoyed that. Yeah, I did, thank you. But it's like, he's saying, that's what I did. That's what it was all about. It was about taking people on rides. It was about weaving an experience, showing them something unusual or an aspect of themselves that they hadn't realised or actualised. He said that's what I'm all about. Is there anything else to say, Prince, about the Jehovah's Witness energy that you had towards the end of your life? Let's just ask him about this. I do feel, I said this in video 1, that he wanted to experience as much as possible. He's already said that to me. So it's like he wanted to, he wanted to experience what it was like to be a very devout man, but equally what it was like to be quite a wild, I don't know, man, the earlier years, let's put it that way. So let's just ask, though, about the Jehovah's Witness energy. He's saying the guilt that surrounds it is wrong. He said the guilt that surrounds it is wrong. He's saying, in fact, the guilt that surrounds many religions is wrong. He's saying guilt and being made to feel guilty is one of the biggest lies upon the planet. And he's saying that does not just relate to Jehovah's Witness. He's saying it's there within standard Christianity and in other religions as well. He's saying if I came back again, I mean, he's being a bit flippant here because I'm not sure he is coming back again, but he's almost giving me the energy. He's saying, if I came back again, I'd like to try Buddhism. Because it's like that whole guilt thing, you know, I've done that. And he's saying he realises that that's what the whole garden was about, the garden of settlement, which is what he was calling it. He had to let go of that whole energy in terms of I'm guilty, I'm not worthy to be before God. And that's what he meant. Not everybody has to go into that garden. And he's saying it's fine if you go down that path. You know, you can go through the process that he did, but ultimately there's a faster way to get to the Godhead, which is just not to have the guilt in the first place. He's saying guilt is a man-made construct. And he knows that now. But he's saying, I don't want to offend anybody here, and he's not wanting to offend anybody, but it was less about being a Jehovah's Witness. It was more about choosing something to be devout in with regard to religion, because there are many other examples or many other beliefs that he could have chosen. He's saying other people choose something like Scientology or, I don't know why I'm laughing. Well, no, he was sort of laughing a little bit. Sorry. He's quite wry. I'd call him. He's quite wry. You know, he's quite. He said, "I've seen through all that now. I've seen through all that." He said, "There is just that one God." He said, "You just felt it. Hopefully, I mean, I felt it. I don't know whether you felt it when we went through that gateway together, and in there, which effectively is source light. There is no judgment." You know, you don't have to look a certain way. You don't have to be a certain way. You can turn up as the most, you know, I was going to say the most vile beggar, but I didn't mean that a beggar's a vile. I meant that somebody who is completely poor and also somebody who's maybe committed a lot of crimes, two different types of people, you would still be welcomed by God. You would not be turned away from the gate. He said nobody is turned away from the gate. He said it was my stuff that made me feel as though I was not worthy. So I had to let that go. He said it's very nice to have done that. It's very nice to have let that go. But he doesn't look down upon anybody that follows that path in this life. He's saying it served its purpose for me. It's what I needed to experience at that stage in my life. He's a bit close-lipped. I can't get any more out of him on that, so I'm not going to push it. Let's just see, is there anything else, Prince, here that we want to talk about today? What about the epilepsy then? Let's just think about the epilepsy. So you were a child. He's wanting to class epilepsy as a disorder in the same way that something like autism or dyslexia, the things that we mentioned earlier, are disorders. In terms of the way that the brain is wired. He said, I know they're different, but he's clumping these disorders together. And he's saying that people that tend to display these problems, you know, these conditions, are actually operating at a very high frequency. And he's saying, I can only speak from my perspective here, but he's saying, you have felt my energy as a more mature man who was able to surmount their condition and move on from it. But you can also see that as an adult man, I still had that brain that fired off left, right and centre. 100 different ideas in any one moment. You know, the elastic brain that the person earlier was talking about, that's sort of his energy even as an adult when he was completely well. So when he was going through the epileptic seizures, it was as though I'm just feeling it was like a manifest. It was like a faster, sharper, more intensified, consolidated form of what actually is. He learnt to transmit in a slightly slower way, even though to us it would be very, very fast. So I'm feeling as though he's saying it was linked into this huge, he's shown me like a circuit board. It's like a circuit board, and it's just like all this energy firing off left, right and centre. And he's saying, as an adult, I learned how to channel that. Okay, thank you. To channel that in a more steady way, in a more rhythmic way. That, you know, if there's too much going here, I need to send a little bit there to balance it out. He said, I started to learn to master my energy better. He's saying, you won't read that in a medical book though. That's at a metaphysical level. It's about learning how to channel the energy in slightly different ways. It's also about learning to be very, very in tune with your body, so that you get the sense of when it's about to happen, and just the moment before the fit is about to happen, you're able to somehow channel it in a slightly different way. He's saying there are better teachers than me to talk about that though, but I do want to talk about it in terms of giving hope to people who are suffering from it, that it can be overcome via using different pieces of the jigsaw. And by that, what he means is he's talking about the medical approaches to it and the metaphysical. There is this story, Prince, isn't there, about you saying to your mother that you had seen an angel, and the angel had said to you that there were going to be no more seizures. Can you talk a little bit about that? He's saying, I used to see spirit a lot as a child. He said that wasn't unusual. He said that's been taken as an isolated story. And he said, but it wasn't an isolated story. He said it might have been for my mother, because I might not have said it before in any pronounced way, but to me as a child I saw spirit all the time, so it wasn't actually that unusual. And actually the angel that communicated that to me had been around me before. It was just that that was the piece of communication that I chose to pass on to my mother at that time. It was more to help her understand it than me, because I already knew that they were going to slow down or stop. I'm not quite sure what his whole history was in terms of seizures when it all stopped. I'm still drawn back to, you know, his death in the elevator and that last blackout. And yes, we know there was a drug aspect to it. We haven't asked about malicious play, might do in a moment, but I'm still also feeling something in the brain, misfiring, whether it was a fit to end all fits or I don't know, but I'm just... Can you say a little bit more about that? I know I'm taking you back to what you've already said. Can you tell me how you were feeling just before it happened? Absolutely fine, he says, absolutely fine. It's just a question mark, because it's just like 1 minute fine, the next dead. Literally is. It's almost like something, and if you view it like a circuit board, it's like the circuit board just completely blew. Whether that be through drugs, through any other thing, it just blew. Whether there was some latent thing in the background linked back to fits, I don't know. I can't say for sure on that. I am just going to ask about malpractice. I don't know what you can say about this, Prince. Do you feel that there was interference? Let's put it this way. Do you feel that there was interference linked into your death? I.e., did somebody interfere with the drugs? I'm going to ask the pendulum. I'm being shown something, but I want to make sure I'm right. So this is my pendulum. When I'm going to ask the question in a moment, my hand's not moving. Okay, you can see my hand's not moving. If it goes circular, my circle is a yes, and back and forth is a no. Okay, so it's steady at the moment, as steady as I can get my hand. And I'm just going to ask the question now, Prince, was somebody else involved in your death? That's a yes. He's saying I wouldn't have made that mistake, Amanda. Were they known to you? No, they weren't known to him. Will the truth come out? That's a yes. Will the truth come out soon? Can you see that? It's not moving. And when that happens, folks, we're not meant to know. He's also saying it's because it hasn't yet been written. And what he means by that is that if and when it gets exposed, it will be because consciousness has risen to a degree which allows that unfolding of certain things that have been hidden from us. So you can't just say a definite yes, a definite no. Is it going to be, you know, are the perpetrators going to be brought to justice? Because it depends upon the lifting of consciousness to a high enough level so that, he's actually saying, so people are ready to hear the truth. He's saying that some of the truths that need to come out are so shocking that it would, some people aren't ready. Oh, he's saying some people will never be ready for it, but he's saying enough people need to be ready for it to steady the ship, Anything else to say with regard to that? He's just like looking at me very steadily, and he's like saying, but the time will come. So it's like, I want you to just look into my eyes, because I'm feeling he's speaking through my eyes. He's saying the time will come. He's saying it's not just me. He's saying do the maths. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're not going to leave it on that point, Prince. Let's leave it on a slightly higher point than that. Let's just see what else he wants to talk about. I'm going to do one more thing, and I'm going to close this off. Say, show your purple flower. There you go. Prince, next, is there anything else that you would like to say to us before you go? Be the best that you can be. Be true to who you really are. Love every day. Love every moment. Love every sound. Celebrate. Rock and roll. Dance. Go crazy. Yeah. Got that song again now in my head. Let's go crazy. So I think I will, I'll close this down in a moment, but I think he wants you to go away and listen to that song. The message is all there, he's saying. Okay. So I am going to leave it there for today, because I've got things to do. So I'm just going to close this down properly. And let's just be there for one moment with him. Oh, he's also mentioning scent. He's very aware of scent. I noticed that this morning when I had forgotten to put my perfume on. He's like, where's your perfume? He's like, he said, you smell nice. He's got this thing about scent, and smell is very important. So it's almost like I've got these roses here, and he's saying like, smell the roses, smell the roses. Wow, isn't that beautiful? There's a thing about him which is very much into aesthetic beauty. But by that, I'm not talking about Barbie doll looks or anything like that. I'm talking about beauty of the rose, you know, beauty of the sky, beauty of the bird. He's very much into aesthetic beauty like that, and art as well. All these birds, you can't see it, but do you remember at the end of my last video I said, what is the sign when, give us a sign, Prince, when we know you're around? And I could hear the cooing of the birds. Well, all my windows are closed at the moment, but I tell you what, I've got birds circulating all the way out here, which is rather lovely. So let's say goodbye to him for now. I'm sure he will be back, okay? I'm sure he will be back, but that's probably enough I can manage today. So thank you, Prince. Thank you for being here. He's saying it's my pleasure. He's very gentleman. He's like, my pleasure. He's saying until next time. Yeah, until next time. And he's saying, tell them that I love them. He loves you. And he's saying, tell them that I'm always around anybody that needs me. And he's saying, what was he saying? Didn't quite get that. What's he saying? Be a little bit naughty. maybe that's a preview for the next video, because it's like today's been very much about purity and devoutness, and of course there is this other side to him, so it's like he's just like, be a little bit naughty as well. Okay, all right, we're going to leave it there. So let's just ask Metatron to well, no, I can't ask Metatron to walk him back across the bridge, because it's not working like that today. We're just going to ask for him to be transported back. He doesn't even, he's gone, he's there, he's gone. The bench is empty, okay. And the sign has gone, he has gone. And it's interesting, what Metatron is doing is he's sweeping the bench. I've never seen him do that before. He's just sweeping the bench. And it's like he's saying, I'm saying, what are you doing? And he's saying, well, I'm getting ready for the next guest. Okay, so who's the next guest then? He's saying, you'll have to wait and see. Much love, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that. I enjoyed that. And yeah, good fun. Much love to everybody. Bye-bye.